Captain Zefter stood before the massive viewing screen of his science vessel, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace rush past. His crystalline body reflected the lights in patterns that showed his deep concern. After 300 years of exploring the galaxy, he had never encountered a signal quite like this one. "Captain, we are approaching the target system," announced Dr. Miranel from her station. The six-armed hexapod scientist moved quickly between multiple control panels, her appendages working with practiced efficiency. "The distress signal is definitely coming from the third planet." Zefter nodded, his crystal formations chiming softly. "Show me the planetary data." The main screen filled with information that made the entire bridge crew fall silent. The planet was a nightmare of violent storms, massive earthquakes, and deadly radiation zones. Volcanic activity covered entire continents. The oceans were filled with creatures that could swallow their ship whole. Poisonous gases drifted through parts of the atmosphere. "By the ancient codes," whispered Commander Crix, his gaseous form swirling with anxiety, "this is a Class 10 death world. Nothing should be able to live there." Dr. Miranel checked her readings again. The gravity is nearly twice what most council species can survive. The temperature swings would kill a Velinary. In minutes, the atmospheric pressure changes would crush a hexapod. "Yet something is sending that signal," Zefter said quietly. "Run a full-spectrum analysis." The results appeared on screen moments later, and they were impossible to believe. The electromagnetic signatures showed advanced technology. Simple radio waves, but complex digital transmissions. Power grids covered the entire planet. Thousands of artificial satellites orbited the world. "Captain," Dr. Miranel said, her voice shaking, "these readings suggest a civilization more advanced than some council members. But how could anything evolve to this level on such a hostile world?" Zefter studied the data carefully. In his 3 centuries of life, he had seen many wonders across the galaxy. The Galactic Council brought together 12 different species, each adapted to their own peaceful worlds. The Velinary grew in crystal caves with perfect temperature control. The hexapods lived in carefully maintained garden worlds where nothing was ever dangerous. The Titanians drifted through calm gas clouds where storms were unknown. But this planet was death itself. Massive hurricanes that could level cities swept across the surface regularly. Earthquakes shook the ground almost daily. Ice ages came and went. Asteroid impacts had scarred the world multiple times. Yet somehow impossibly intelligent life had not just survived, but thrived. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," Zefter ordered. "Tell them we have found something unprecedented." Within hours, the Council's response came back. The message was signed by Supreme Counselor Velthor, the eldest and wisest of the Velinary leaders. "Captain Zefter, you are ordered to maintain safe distance from the Death World. Under no circumstances should you attempt direct contact. Any species capable of surviving such conditions must be considered extremely dangerous. Wait for Council fleet support before proceeding." Found himself strangely drawn to the mystery. How had these beings not just survived, but built a technological civilization? What kind of creatures could call such a hellish world home? Captain Dr. Miranel called out, "I'm detecting something else. The signal isn't just a distress call. It's changing, becoming more complex. Show me." The communications officer, a young Velinary named Sephrin, worked frantically at his station. "Sir, they're trying to communicate with us. The signal has shifted to mathematical sequences. Prime numbers, basic equations, geometric patterns." Zefter felt his crystal body pulse with excitement. "They know we're here. What are your orders, Captain?" Commander Crix asked. The safe choice would be to wait for the Council fleet. These Deathworlders, whatever they were, had clearly detected the cosmic dawn. Their ability to survive on their nightmare planet suggested they might be incredibly dangerous. Every piece of Council wisdom said to proceed with extreme caution, but Zefter had not become the youngest captain in the exploration fleet by always choosing safety. "Open a channel. Send them the standard first contact mathematical sequence." Dr. Miranel looked worried. "Captain, perhaps we should consider the Council's advice. A species that evolved on a death world might be naturally aggressive. Might be incredibly resourceful, Zephyr replied. Think about it. To build a civilization on that world, they would need to work together constantly. They would have to solve problems that would destroy any of our worlds. The reply came back within minutes, and it stunned everyone on the bridge. Not only did the mathematical response show perfect understanding, but it was followed by something unprecedented. Actual voice communication. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome you to our solar system. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. The bridge fell completely silent. The voice was calm, measured, and spoke in perfect council standard language. How was that possible? Did they just speak in standard? Sephron asked in amazement. Just standard, Dr. Miranel said, checking her instruments. I'm detecting transmissions in over 200 different languages, and they're trying to communicate in every possible way they can think of. Zephyr felt a chill run through his crystalline. Structure. These beings hadn't just detected their ship. They had immediately begun trying to establish meaningful communication. Their response showed intelligence, organization, and surprisingly, a welcoming attitude. This is Captain Zephyr of the Galactic Council vessel Cosmic Dawn, he replied. Carefully. We received your distress signal and came to investigate. The response came quickly. Distress signal? Captain? We haven't sent any distress calls. Our planetary communication grid sends out standard navigation beacons and research. Data. Perhaps that's what you detected. Navigation beacons. They were casually broadcasting information about their death world, as if it were just another peaceful planet. Dr. Miranel pulled up the original signal analysis and realized the truth. What they had interpreted as a distress call was actually routine planetary communications. These beings lived so normally on their nightmare world that they treated its deadly conditions as everyday background information. Captain Morrison, Zephyr said slowly, your planet registers as a Class X death world on our systems. How is your civilization possible? There was a pause, then something that sounded like laughter. Well, you mean Earth's a bit rough around the edges? Yeah. We've had to adapt. Weather can be tricky, and we get the occasional earthquake or volcanic eruption, but humans are pretty good at dealing with challenges. We've been spreading to other worlds in our system for the past 50 years. Dr. Miranel nearly fell from her station. Weather can be tricky. They described conditions that would exterminate entire council species as weather being tricky. Captain Commander Crix whispered, what kind of beings are we dealing with? Over. The next several hours, the humans shared basic information about their species and planet. The data that came through made the entire bridge crew question everything they thought they knew about life in the galaxy. Humans could survive. Temperature ranges that spanned from deadly cold to killing heat. Their bodies automatically adjusted. 2 different atmospheric conditions. They had multiple backup systems for critical organs. They could heal from injuries that would be fatal to most council species. But more than their physical resilience, it was their attitude that amazed the aliens. The humans spoke of surviving natural disasters as if it were just part of normal life. They mentioned wars that spanned entire continents, then casually noted how they had eventually learned to work together, Captain Zephyr realized. He was looking at something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that had been forged by constant challenge into something far stronger than any peaceful world could create. The Deathworlders from the stars had emerged, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Jake Morrison sat in the command center of Luna Station, watching the alien vessel maintain its position just outside Earth's solar system. The crystalline ship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, its faceted surface catching and reflecting starlight in patterns that seemed almost alive. Sir, we're receiving another transmission from the Galactic Council ship, reported Lieutenant Carol Stevens from the communications station. Captain Zephyr is requesting permission to approach closer to Earth. Morrison studied the data screens around him. 3 days had passed since first contact, and every conversation with the aliens had revealed more about how different their 2 species were. The council beings seemed genuinely shocked that humans could exist on Earth, while humans found it hard to believe that entire civilizations had developed on worlds without any real challenges. Put him through, Morrison ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing Captain Zephyr's crystalline form aboard his bridge. The alien captain's body was a beautiful structure of living crystal that chimed softly when he moved. Behind him, Morrison could see other alien crew members, including the six-armed Dr. Miranel and the gaseous Commander Crix. "Admiral Morrison," Zephyr began, his voice carrying musical tones. "The Galactic Council has reviewed our initial reports. We are having difficulty accepting that your species has achieved spaceflight while living on such a hostile world." Morrison smiled. "Captain, I think there might be some confusion about what you consider hostile. Sure, Earth has its challenges, but we've learned to work with them. Would you like us to send over some basic information about human civilization?" "That would be most helpful," Dr. Miranel interjected, her multiple arms working at different control panels. "From a scientific perspective, your species fascinates us. Our preliminary scans suggest humans possess physical capabilities that exceed most Council species." Within minutes, human data packages began streaming to the cosmic dawn. Lieutenant Stevens coordinated the transmission, while Commander Bill Turner provided commentary from the military perspective. "We're sending over historical data, biological information, and current planetary status reports," Stevens explained. "You'll find records of human development, our expansion into space, and our current colony worlds." As the information processed, on the alien ship, Morrison watched the reactions of the Council crew. Through the video link, Dr. Miranel's six arms suddenly stopped moving. Commander Crix's gaseous form swirled more rapidly. Even Captain Zephyr's crystal body seemed to dim with what Morrison was learning to recognize as shock. Admiral Zephyr said slowly, "According to this data, humans can survive in temperatures ranging from -42 plus 50 degrees Celsius." "That's right," Morrison confirmed, "though we prefer more comfortable ranges, of course." But Dr. Miranel interrupted. "Those temperatures would kill most Council species within minutes. My people can only survive in a range of 10 degrees. How is this possible?" Commander Turner leaned forward. "Evolution, Doctor. Earth's climate has never been stable. Ice ages, volcanic periods, major asteroid impacts. Our ancestors had to adapt or die. Those who survived passed on genes for toughness and adaptability." The alien doctor was quiet for a long moment. "Your historical records show massive conflicts. Wars involving millions of individuals, weapons capable of destroying entire cities. Yet you achieved unity in space travel." "How?" Morrison considered his answer carefully. The truth was that humanity's warlike past was exactly what had prepared them for the challenges of space exploration and colonization. But he sensed that the peaceful Council species might not understand this concept. "We learned that working together was more effective than fighting each other," Morrison said. "The same challenges that made us tough also taught us the value of cooperation." "Fascinating," Zephyr mused. "In Council space, most species developed on worlds with stable climates and abundant resources. Conflict was rare because there was always enough for everyone." Captain Lisa Grant entered the command center and approached Morrison's station. As his chief tactical officer, she had been analyzing the alien ship's design and capabilities. Report would be crucial for understanding these new neighbors. Admiral Grant said quietly, "Their ship is incredibly advanced in some ways, but it has almost no defensive systems. No armor, minimal shields, and what appear to be scientific instruments where we would mount weapons." Morrison nodded thoughtfully. It made sense. If the Council species had evolved on peaceful worlds with abundant resources, they would have no reason to develop military technology. Captain Zephyr Morrison said, "We've been curious about something your ship appears to be designed for. Exploration and research. Do Council species not maintain military vessels?" The question seemed to confuse the aliens. Commander Crix's gaseous form shifted uncertainly. "Military vessels? For what purpose?" "The Council has maintained peace for over 1,000 years. There are no conflicts in civilized space," Dr. Miranel added. "We do have security forces for dealing with natural disasters or rescue operations. But the concept of species fighting each other is largely theoretical to us." Morrison exchanged glances with Grant. A galaxy full of peaceful species with advanced technology but no military experience. It sounded like paradise, but it also sounded vulnerable. What about hostile environments? Grant asked. Encountered dangerous planets or natural phenomena that require defensive measures? Simply avoid such places, Zephyr replied. Why would anyone choose to live in dangerous conditions when peaceful worlds are available? The conversation continued. For hours, with both sides sharing information about their respective civilizations, the humans learned that the Galactic Council controlled thousands of star systems, all inhabited by species that valued peace and scientific advancement above all else. The Council species learned that humanity had colonized some of the most challenging worlds in their local stellar neighborhood, turning hostile environments into thriving colonies. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenobiologist, joined the conversation to discuss the biological differences between humans and Council species. Her analysis of the alien data revealed striking patterns. It appears that most Council species are specialized for their specific environments. Rodriguez explained. The Velinari thrive in crystalline cave systems with perfect temperature control. The hexapods require carefully maintained garden worlds. The Titanians live in stable gas clouds. Each species is perfectly adapted to their home world, but they have little tolerance for variation. Whereas humans, Dr. Miranel observed, appear to be adapted for constant change and challenge. Your species lacks specialization, but possesses remarkable flexibility. That's one way to put it, Morrison agreed. We call it being stubborn. When Earth throws problems at us, we find ways to solve them instead of running away. As the day progressed, more Council ships arrived in the outer system. Captain Zephyr explained that the Council leadership wanted to observe these remarkable Deathworlders firsthand. Each new ship brought representatives from different Council species, all eager to study humanity. The meetings revealed fundamental differences in how the two civilizations approached problems. When Council representatives described a recent challenge with solar flares disrupting communications on one of their worlds, their solution had been to evacuate the entire population until the danger passed. Why not just shield the communication systems? Asked Commander Turner. Shield them from solar radiation, replied one of the alien representatives. The energy requirements would be enormous. Turner pulled up Earth's communication satellite designs. We deal with solar flares regularly. Here's how we protect our equipment. The alien response was a mixture of admiration and horror. The human solutions were elegant and effective, but they required technology designed to withstand hostile conditions that Council species simply avoided by the end of the second day. It was clear that first contact had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. The Council species were fascinated by human adaptability and problem-solving abilities. Humans were amazed by the advanced technology and peaceful civilization the aliens had built. But underlying the excitement was a growing realization on both sides. The galaxy was about to change. The Peaceful Council had encountered something they had never imagined, a species that was not only intelligent and advanced, but also prepared for conflict. Meanwhile, humanity had discovered they were no longer alone in a hostile universe, and their new neighbors might need protection from dangers they couldn't even imagine. Captain Zephyr was reviewing the latest cultural exchange data when the emergency alarm sounded throughout his ship. His crystalline body rang like a bell as he quickly moved to the command center where Dr. Miranel was working frantically. At her station with all 6 arms moving across different controls, Captain, we're receiving an urgent transmission from Council Central Command, she announced, her voice filled with panic. Priority Alpha level. All exploration vessels are ordered to return to defended space immediately. The main screen filled with the image of Supreme Counselor Velthor, the ancient Velinari leader whose crystal formations had grown dim with age and worry. Behind him, representatives from all 12 Council species gathered in obvious distress. Citizens of the Council, Velthor began, his melodic voice trembling. Long-range sensors have detected the approach of the Devourers. They have consumed the Kepler Nebula systems and are moving toward the outer colonies. All civilian vessels must retreat to the core worlds immediately. Zephyr felt his crystal structure go cold. The Devourers were the stuff of nightmares, ancient machines that had been slowly eating their way across the galaxy for decades. No one knew where they came from or what their purpose was. only that they consumed everything in their path and left dead systems behind. Estimated time until they reached the outer colonies, Zephyr asked. Commander Crix swirled anxiously. Based on their previous movement patterns, perhaps 6 months, maybe less. Dr. Miranel looked up from her calculations. Captain, should we inform our human contacts about this development? Zephyr paused. The humans had been so interested in everything about Council civilization. They had asked detailed questions about their technology, their history, and their challenges. But how could he explain the Devourers to a species that had never faced an enemy they couldn't fight or negotiate with? Open a channel to Admiral Morrison, he decided. Within minutes, the familiar face of the human admiral appeared on screen. Morrison was in what appeared to be a military command center, with other humans working at stations around him. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls. Captain Zephyr Morrison greeted him. You look troubled. Is everything all right? Admiral, I'm afraid I must share some disturbing news. The Galactic Council is facing a threat unlike anything in our recorded history. We call them the Devourers. Morrison leaned forward, and Zephyr noticed something strange. Instead of the fear or panic that Council species showed when discussing the Devourers, the human's expression became focused and alert. It was the look of someone preparing to solve a problem. Tell me about them, Morrison said simply. Over the next hour, Zephyr explained everything the Council knew about the Devourers. They were mechanical beings, possibly artificial intelligence. Systems left over from some ancient civilization. They traveled in massive fleets of ships that could strip entire planets of resources within days. They showed no interest in communication or negotiation, simply consuming everything organic and inorganic that they encountered. How long have they been active? Asked Commander Grant, who had joined Morrison during the briefing. We first detected them about 40 years ago at the Galactic Rim, Dr. Miranel replied. They've consumed over 200 star systems since then. What defensive measures has the Council taken? Morrison inquired. The question hung in the air for a long moment. Finally, Zephyr answered with obvious shame. We have evacuated threatened worlds and retreated to more defensible positions. You've been running away for 40 years? Grant asked, her tone carefully neutral. Our ships are designed for exploration and scientific research, Commander Crix explained defensively. We are not warriors. The few times Council forces engaged the Devourers, our vessels were destroyed within minutes. Morrison studied the tactical data the Council had shared. Fleet movements, battle reports, resource consumption patterns. His human mind was processing the information in ways that amazed the watching aliens. These machines, Morrison said thoughtfully, they follow predictable patterns. Always consume the outer planets first, then move toward the star. They avoid gas giants until last. Their ships cluster around resource-rich targets. Yes, Zephyr confirmed. But knowing their patterns hasn't helped us stop them. That's because you've been thinking like prey instead of predators, Grant. Observed, you see an overwhelming force and your instinct is to run. But every enemy has weaknesses. Dr. Miranel's 6 arms stopped working entirely. You speak of them as enemies to be fought. But Admiral, these machines have destroyed fleets 10 times larger than anything humanity possesses. A size isn't everything. Morrison replied, tell me about their technology. Power sources, hull composition, weapon systems. As the aliens provided more technical details, more humans joined the conversation. Dr. Kevin Walsh, Earth's leading expert in artificial intelligence, began asking questions about the Devourers' decision-making processes. Engineer Patricia Lee wanted to know about their construction methods and resource processing. Captain Zephyr Morrison said after reviewing all the data, has the Council considered that these machines might be following their original programming? If they're ancient AI systems, they're probably doing exactly what they were designed to do, which means they can be reprogrammed or shut down. Dr. Walsh added, the concept seemed to stun the Council representatives. For 40 years, they had viewed the Devourers as an unstoppable natural disaster, like a cosmic storm or plague. The idea that they could be opposed, studied, and potentially defeated had never seriously occurred to them. You would fight them? Zephyr asked in amazement. We'd prefer to avoid fighting if possible, Morrison admitted. But if these machines threaten innocent civilizations, then yes, we'll fight them. Commander Grant pulled up Earth's military databases. We'll need detailed intelligence on their capabilities. Ship designs, weapon specifications, defensive systems. Everything the Council has learned over 40 years of contact. But Admiral Dr. Miranel protested. Your entire species numbers only a few billion individuals. The Devourers have consumed civilizations with trillions of citizens. Numbers matter, Morrison agreed. But so do tactics, technology, and determination. How many ships do the Devourers typically field in a system assault? As the tactical discussion continued, Zephyr realized he was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans weren't reacting to the Devourer threat with fear or despair. They were analyzing it like any other problem to be solved. Captain Lisa Grant began sketching battle formations on her datapad. If their ships cluster around resource extraction sites, they're vulnerable to coordinated strikes. Hit them well. They're focused on harvesting, not when they're in mobile formation. We could use their predictable patterns against them, suggested Colonel Ryan Hayes, who had joined the planning session. Let them start extraction operations, then strike at the most valuable targets first. The Council representatives watched, in fascination, as the humans dissected decades of Devourer tactical data and began developing countermeasures. These Deathworlders weren't just tough survivors. They were natural warriors, evolved to face and overcome challenges that would destroy other species. Admiral Morrison, Zephyr said slowly. Are you saying that humanity would be willing to help defend Council space against the Devourers? Morrison looked around at his staff, then back at the alien captain. Captain, from what you've told? Us. These machines won't stop with Council space. Eventually, they'll reach human colonies too. It's better to stop them now, while we have allies to fight alongside. The word allies seemed to resonate through the bridge of the cosmic dawn. For 40 years, Council had been alone in their retreat from the mechanical threat. Now, impossibly, they had found someone willing to stand and fight. There's something else, Morrison added. These Devourers have been consuming civilizations for decades. That means they've absorbed technologies and resources from hundreds of different species. If we can capture their ships intact, we might learn things that could benefit everyone. Dr. Miranel's multiple eyes widened. The humans weren't just willing to fight the unstoppable enemy. They were already planning how to turn the conflict into an opportunity for advancement. These Deathworlders thought like no species the galaxy had ever seen. The alarm sirens wailed across the Velinary colony world of Crystal Falls as massive mechanical ships descended from the dark void of space. The Devourers had arrived 3 weeks earlier than predicted, and the evacuation was only half complete, Captain. Zephyr watched helplessly from orbit as the machine harvesting platforms began their terrible work. Crystalline cities that had taken centuries to grow were being consumed in hours, their beautiful structures ground into raw materials by the relentless mechanical swarms. Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the surface, Dr. Miranel reported, her 6 arms trembling as she worked. The evacuation ships are trapped in the capital city. Devourer fighters are preventing their escape. On the main screen, Zephyr could see the desperate situation. 3 Council transport vessels sat motionless on the landing platforms while mechanical attack craft circled overhead like metal predators. Thousands of Velinary civilians were trapped inside the ships, waiting for rescue that might never come. Our defensive ships cannot penetrate the Devourer screen, Commander Crix admitted, his gaseous form swirling with distress. We lack the firepower to engage their fighters effectively. That was when the impossible happened. New contacts appeared on the sensor screens, moving at speeds that made even the advanced Council instruments struggle to track them. Sleek human fighters burst from hyperspace, their dark holes gleaming with weapons that had never been seen in civilized space. This is Colonel Ryan Hayes of the 1st Earth Attack Squadron, came a calm voice over the communications channel. We're here to provide close air support for the evacuation. All Council ships maintain current positions. Zephyr watched in amazement as 12 human fighters dove straight into the swarm of Devourer craft. The mechanical ships immediately turned to engage, their energy weapons lighting up space with deadly fire. But the human pilots flew like nothing the galaxy had ever seen, where Council pilots would have maintained safe distances and used defensive formations. The humans flew directly into the mechanical swarms. Their ships twisted and spun through patterns that should have been impossible, dodging energy blasts by mere meters while returning fire with weapons that punched through Devourer armor like it was paper. How are they flying like that? Doctor, Miranel gasped. Their ships are built for high-stress maneuvering, Commander Crix observed. But more than that, look at their reaction times. They're anticipating the enemy movements. Colonel Hayes led his squadron in a diving attack that scattered the Devourer fighters like leaves in a storm. His wingman, Major Susan Clark, executed a rolling maneuver that brought her directly behind 3 enemy craft, destroying all of them with a single burst of fire. Crystal Falls evacuation ships, you are cleared for immediate departure, Hayes announced. We'll maintain cover until you reach orbit. The trapped Council transports lifted off just as more Devourer reinforcements arrived. But instead of retreating, the human fighters regrouped and prepared for another attack. Colonel Hayes' Zephyr transmitted, "Additional enemy forces are approaching. You should withdraw." "Negative, Captain," Hayes replied. "We've got more friends coming to the party." The space around Crystal Falls suddenly filled with new arrivals. Human warships emerged from hyperspace in formations that made the watching Council officers gasp in disbelief. The vessels were nothing like the peaceful exploration craft of Council design. These were weapons of war, built by a species that understood conflict. The flagship was a massive vessel that Admiral Morrison's voice identified as the battleship New Yorktown. Its hull bristled with weapon systems that could destroy entire fleets. Behind it came cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels, all moving with the precision of a military force that had been fighting battles for generations. Admiral Morrison, to all Council vessels, came the familiar voice. "We're taking over defense of this system. Recommend you withdraw to safe distance and observe." What followed was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The human fleet didn't retreat from the overwhelming Devourer force. Instead, they attacked with a coordination and ferocity that stunned the mechanical invaders. Captain Lisa Grant commanded the cruiser Pacific Thunder in a flanking maneuver that caught the Devourer harvesting platforms completely off guard. Her ship's weapons tore through mechanical hulls that had resisted Council energy beams for decades. "Target their processing centers first," Grant ordered over the tactical channel. "If we can disrupt their resource extraction, they'll be forced to respond defensively." The human battle doctrine was completely different from anything the Council had attempted. Instead of trying to fight the Devourer warships directly, they focused on disrupting the machine's primary mission. When the Devourers moved to protect their harvesting operations, the humans shifted targets to their support vessels. Dr. Emma Rodriguez worked frantically in the engineering section of the New Yorktown, modifying human weapons with captured Council technology. Her team had spent weeks studying alien energy systems, and now they were combining them with human kinetic weapons in ways neither species had imagined possible. "Admiral, the hybrid weapons are ready for testing," she reported. "All ships, switch to the new ammunition," Morrison ordered. The effect was immediate and devastating. The modified human weapons, powered by Council energy technology, but guided by human targeting systems, cut through Devourer defenses like nothing the machines had encountered before. But the real shock came when the humans began studying their enemies during the battle itself, instead of simply trying to destroy every Devourer ship. They were capturing disabled vessels and analyzing their technology in real time. Commander Bill Turner led a boarding party onto a crippled Devourer command ship, fighting through mechanical defenders with weapons designed for close combat. The Council species watched in horror and amazement as humans engaged the machines hand-to-hand, using tactics that no civilized species would consider. "These humans fight like the Deathworld predators they evolved from," Dr. Miranel observed. "They adapt to their enemies during combat." More than that, Zephyr realized. They're learning from the Devourers. Every engagement teaches them something new. The battle for Crystal Falls lasted 18 hours. When it ended, The Devourer fleet had been completely destroyed, and the humans had captured several intact vessels for study. Not a single council ship had been lost, though many human vessels showed battle damage. Admiral Morrison, Zephdar, transmitted as the human fleet regrouped. "Your losses?" 43 wounded, 7 killed, Morrison replied matter-of-factly. "Light casualties for an engagement of this size?" The council representatives were speechless. Humans spoke of casualties as acceptable losses in pursuit of victory. It was a concept that no peaceful species could truly understand. Dr. Miranel said quietly, "Preliminary analysis of the battle shows that human combat effectiveness increased throughout the engagement. They were literally getting better at fighting the Devourers while the battle was happening." Captain Zephdar studied the tactical recordings. The humans had started the battle using standard military formations and weapons. By the end, they were executing maneuvers and using tactics specifically designed to counter Devourers' strengths and exploit their weaknesses. "Colonel Hayes," Morrison's voice came over the communications channel, "take your squadron and scout the next system on the Devourer advance route. We need to know their fleet strength and deployment patterns." "Roger that, Admiral. How long until the main fleet follows?" 48 hours? We need time to integrate the captured technology and repair battle damage." Zephdar realized with growing amazement that the humans weren't planning to rest after their victory. They were already preparing to hunt down the next Devourer fleet. Over the following weeks, the pattern repeated across a dozen systems. The Devourers would arrive expecting to face the usual council retreat. Instead, they encountered human forces that fought with tactics and weapons the machines couldn't counter. Each battle taught the humans more about their mechanical enemies, while the Devourers seemed unable to adapt to the new threat. The galaxy was learning a lesson it had never needed before. Sometimes the only way to preserve peace was to be prepared. For war, and humanity, forged in the crucible of their death world, was very good at war indeed. The massive Devourer fleet hung in space around Nexus Prime like a swarm of metal locusts, their dark ships blotting out the stars. This was their largest force yet, containing over 3,000 vessels of all sizes. The machines had finally decided to strike at the heart of Council civilization and end the resistance once and for all. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Unity's Edge, the first ship ever built combining human engineering with Council technology. The vessel was a miracle of cooperation, featuring crystalline Velinary communication networks, hexapod multitasking systems, and titanium sensor arrays, all protected by human armor and powered by hybrid weapon systems, all allied. "Fleets report ready," announced Captain Lisa Grant from her station. Around Nexus Prime, the combined forces of humanity and the Galactic Council prepared for the battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Captain Zephdar worked alongside human officers on the Unity's Edge bridge, his crystalline body serving as a living communication relay between the diverse allied forces. Over the past months, he had learned to work with these Deathworlders, and the experience had changed him. The peaceful Velinary had discovered that sometimes fighting was the only way to preserve what you loved. "Devourer command ship identified," reported Dr. Miranel, her 6 arms coordinating sensor data from across the fleet. "It's 3 times larger than anything we've seen before." Morrison studied the tactical display. The Devourer strategy was simple and brutal. Their massive command ship sat at the center of a defensive formation, while smaller vessels moved to begin harvesting operations on Nexus Prime's outer moons. They expected the same pattern that had worked for 40 years. Defenders would either flee or be destroyed. But this time was different. The Devourers faced not just Council forces, but a united galaxy that had learned to fight. "All ships execute formation Delta 7, Morrison commanded. The Allied fleet moved with precision that amazed even the humans. Velinary ships used their crystal communication networks to relay orders instantly across vast distances. Hexapod vessels provided rapid repair support with their multiple manipulation arms. Titanian ships drifted through the formation like living sensor clouds, detecting enemy movements through electromagnetic interference, and leading the assault were the human warships. Their crews trained in the brutal school of Deathworld survival and adapted for the chaos of space combat. First wave, begin attack run, ordered Colonel Ryan Hayes from his fighter squadron. Beside him flew pilots from every council species, trained by humans in tactics their peaceful civilizations had never imagined. The battle began with a coordinated strike against the Devourer harvesting platforms. But instead of the scattered resistance the machines expected, they faced disciplined formations that attacked with surgical precision. Commander Bill Turner led the assault on the enemy's left flank, his mixed human-alien crew working together with an efficiency that neither species could have achieved alone. Velinary communications specialists provided instant coordination while human gunners targeted weak points that Council sensors had identified. Target their processing nodes, Turner commanded. Dr. Rodriguez's analysis shows that's where they're most vulnerable. Modified human weapons, now enhanced with months of captured Devourer technology, tore through mechanical defenses that had seemed invincible just a year ago. Each shot was guided by tactical knowledge gained through dozens of previous battles, but the real surprise came when the Devourer command ship finally responded to the assault. The massive vessel moved forward to engage the Allied fleet directly, its weapon systems charging for a devastating attack. That was when Commander Blake Torres led his mixed-species boarding party into action. Unity Strike Team, prepare for combat insertion, Torres announced over the tactical channel. His team included human marines, Velinary technical specialists, hexapod engineers, and even a Titanian reconnaissance specialist who could drift through the enemy ship's systems like a ghost. Their transport ship, specially designed for high risk operations, dove straight through the Devourer defensive screen. Council pilots would never have attempted such a dangerous approach. Human pilots trained on Earth's death world had learned to thrive in impossible situations. The boarding action that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Torres led his team through the mechanical corridors of the Devourer command ship, fighting past automated defenses while the Velinary specialists worked to understand the ship's control systems. The central processing core is 3 levels down, reported the Titanian team member, his gaseous form having infiltrated the ship's ventilation systems. Mechanical resistance between here and there. Then we go through them, Torres replied, his team already moving deeper into the enemy vessel. The fighting was brutal and desperate. Mechanical defenders designed to repel boarding actions found themselves facing enemies they couldn't understand. As humans absorbed damage that should have been fatal and kept fighting, Council species used their unique abilities in ways the machines programming had never anticipated. Meanwhile, the space battle raged around the massive command ship. Admiral Morrison coordinated the Allied fleet from the Unity's edge, using human tactical doctrine enhanced by Council technology and alien strategic thinking. Captain Grant, take the Pacific Squadron and hit their communication relays, Morrison ordered. Dr. Mironell, can your people disrupt their coordination signals? Already working on it, Admiral, the hexapod scientist replied, her multiple arms dancing across control panels that combined human and alien interfaces. The battle turned when Torres's boarding party finally reached the Devourer command core. What they found there shocked even the experienced human marines. The central processing unit was not just a computer, but a vast artificial intelligence that had been consuming and integrating the knowledge of destroyed civilizations for countless years. Admiral Torres reported through the combat communications. Link, you need to see this. The Devourers aren't just mindless machines. They're trying to preserve something. The revelation changed everything. Through the ship's databanks, they discovered that the Devourers were the last remnant of an ancient civilization that had tried to preserve all galactic knowledge before their own extinction. Their programming compelled them to collect and store information, but corruption over millions of years had turned preservation into destruction. Can we reprogram them? Morrison asked. Dr. Emma Rodriguez, working frantically with Velinary technicians, found the answer. We can, but we need access to the core programming matrix. We need to shut down their weapon systems first. The final assault was a coordinated effort that showed how much the galaxy had changed. Human fighters provided cover, while Council technical teams infiltrated Devourer systems. Velinary specialists used their crystalline communication abilities. To interface directly with alien computer systems, Hexapod engineers rapidly modified captured technology for battlefield use. When the Devourer fleet finally shut down, it was not through destruction, but through understanding. The ancient machines had been given a new purpose, to help preserve and protect the civilizations they had been mindlessly consuming. 6 months later, Admiral Morrison stood in the new Galactic Defense Initiative headquarters, watching mixed crews of humans and council species working together on ships that combined the best of all their technologies. The Devourers, now reprogrammed, served as powerful allies in exploring and protecting the galaxy's outer reaches. Captain Zephyr approached, his crystalline form reflecting the light from dozens of different star systems displayed on the command center's screens. Admiral, the exploration fleet reports another successful first contact in the Andromeda relay systems, Zephyr announced. 3 new species have requested to join the expanded council. Morrison smiled as he watched human ships preparing to depart for the Galactic Rim, where once the peaceful council had retreated from every threat. Now protected exploration fleets pushed into unknown regions, ready to face whatever dangers they might find. The Deathworlders from the stars had not conquered the galaxy. Instead, they had taught it to defend itself. Earth's children had become the immune system of a vast civilization, adapted perfectly for a universe more dangerous and wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. And in the deepest space, where ancient threats still stirred in the darkness between stars, new Guardian fleets waited patiently, crewed by beings who had learned that sometimes peace could only be preserved by those willing to fight for it.